Interesting question. Could I ask what our guests think about that? Could you share your thoughts?
Ako kasi, as a director, even back in film school, I've already made a point to myself na I really wanted to make queer films, no, from the get-go. And malaking impluensya talaga actually dito is this film called Love of Siam. It was released way back in 2007. I saw it in high school and it was the first film where I actually saw myself. So parang gano'n naman yung motto ko usually na kasi back then parang I was looking for that kind of content in the local landscape and wala talaga ako mahanap. So I made it a point na sana if walang gagawa, edi try natin gawin. So even my thesis film was inspired by that. Eventually, here we are. We're in this parang we're in this Pinoy BL phenomenon. So now that we're in this sort of parang surge of Pinoy BLs, I really think it's it's a matter of timing. Kasi I myself, back in 2017, immediately after we made my first feature, which was Too Cool to Be Forgotten, which is not technically considered BL, even though it featured, high school boys falling in love. Immediately after that, I already made a queer show called Hanging Out. It gained a small humble following, which we were happy about. And then immediately after that, nahook na ako sa BL, sa Thai BL. And so back in 2017, I already had that parang thought of wanting to make a BL show here in the Philippines. So I even met alam mo yun, mga a BL community writer, ganyan, to kind of jumpstart that journey. So I think I remember it was as early as 2018 when I first started pitching around the idea of creating a BL show. And walang kumakagat doon na producers. We shopped it around doon sa mga available local producers, the local studios. Even back then, parang nangyayari na rin yung I Want, ganon. I mean, Mela also even has a show on I Want. And no one really understood what BL was. So I think nangyayari tong BL wave na to, wag na nating i-deny, it was really because of Together. Because Together was that big hit that during the lockdown, it was really just trending all over the place and it became like this lockdown ritual, not just for the LGBT community, but for Filipinos in general, that even producers suddenly saw that promise. Siyempre nakakainis, na parang a lot of queer creators, I guess, I'm not alone in this, na parang we've always wanted to have that space already for us to tell our stories. And we really had to wait for that time when producers who would risk money would want to make this kind of show. The question is there more? There's always been an audience hungry for this, no? When we made Hanging Out, we were surprised. We were already happy with 10,000 views, 50,000 views because we made that out of passion. But there was just this hungry audience that was willing, to religiously follow and stand the show. And so, everyone's just been waiting for that siguro, na to localize that genre, that kind of content. Ganun din yung ibang klase naman na content, yung GL series. Parang, who knows, inaantay lang naman talaga ng mga Pinoy producers kung kailan makikita yung promise na kakagatin siya ng audiences, ng local audiences. Because of course, this industry revolves around this business model na they have to earn, kailangan nilang kumita back. And as a director, who has been working in the industry, not just as a writer and director, but also as a independent producer, nagigets ko rin yun in some ways. Siguro nung time na Together became a hit, kinagat namin, we risked it all para lang magawa na siya finally.
And it's such an interesting point, lalo na po yung pagkasabi niyo na one of the first ones you created was Hanging Out, I hope that I got that right. Na parang dahil kayo po yung may gusto, parang yun po yung gusto nyong makita, so ginawa niyo. And that's really, I guess, also empowering in that sense for creators now, like create the content that you want to see. So thank you very much for sharing. I'm learning a lot rin. How about you, Miss Mela? What are your thoughts?
Well, you know what? I want to speak not just a fan, but I want to speak as a consumer of films, of television shows, and also as a media creator, before there have been no concepts of what BL is. Besides, when we think of BL as a human experience, madalas naman sasabihin sa Pilipinas, katanggap-tanggap ba ang ganitong uri ng pag-ibig? Because in the very first place, our culture will always tell us that engaging in this kind of love is wrong. So therefore, that cultural mindset hinders us from seeing the beauty between two boys, two girls, between a trans person, whoever he, she, or they love, as something that is beautiful. And that being said, ang hirap makakita at ang hirap ilaban ng ganitong genre because it's not the norm. I shared the same experience with Petersen. My first exposure to the beautiful love between two boys is Love of Siam. It was very, very heartbreaking because by the end of the film, it's a 3-hour film, by the way. There's this character of Mario Morer saying to Witwisit, the other guy, we cannot be together. But that doesn't mean I do not love you. And I was in college, nakakahiya, high school siya, ako college. Okay. And I've never been in a relationship, definitely. So that kind of experience of seeing a love between one boy and one boy, I call it an unusual love in the world that we call the norm. 'Di ba? I rarely see that kind of love story, and witnessing that na merong kilig, I question bakit hindi pwede. 'Di ba? Bakit hindi pwedeng mangyari? Cut to 2020 during the lockdown, and I guess this is a perfect opportunity for us to discover how beautiful queer love story is. Whether it be boys love, girls love, trans love, the LGBTQ love experience. That's why for me, Together was very valuable on my end. They comforted me through the pandemic more than anything else. They helped me survive and go through this period in which I was feeling anxious of myself. And at the same time, it brought me to a world of joy, seeing that my community can be in love. One, they can be the main characters of the story. Two, they can have that rom-com moment. Because in the past, of course, there are queer films. Pero ang tragic parati nung ending. 'Di ba? Parating hindi pwedeng magkatuluyan or hindi pwedeng magsama. Parating it's me, it's us against the world. However, Together brought us to a new world na parang, oy, ang saya, this is a love between a bisexual man and a gay man. Which can happen. And at the same time, kung makikita mo rin dun sa development ng story, girls see boys as their equal, na parang, okay, we are in a competitive mode for the heart of Sarawat. Excuse me, I can beat you. So parang it was kind of, everyone is equal in the eyes of love. It opened up a whole new world in discussing romance, in discussing rom-coms, in discussing kilig as an experience. Kasi ako trans ako, 'di ba? Definitely boys love is not my genre. 'Di ba? But I belong to the community which thinks and will always champion that my love for the person I love is valid. At yun yung pahalagahan ko dun sa experience of boys love. I have to disagree with the point of the letter sender. Kasi parang it's not a competition amongst love stories. All love stories are valid because it depicts a human experience. Hindi naman siya about the quantity of a specific type of love story because boys love is a reflection of the LGBTQ plus community. And now that the people are appreciating this type of love, maybe my love story as a trans person can also be valid. That maybe the love story of a lesbian can also be valid. So This is a celebration for all of us. This is a gateway for us to tackle different types of stories. The challenge is for the queer directors to actually illuminate different types of stories para lahat ng ito ay nakukwento, lahat ng ito ay nakikita, dahil pag nakukwento at nakikita, doon natin masisimulang masabi na ang ganda pala ng ganitong uri ng pag-ibig. At sana lahat ng uri ng pag-ibig natin ay celebratory. Yun yung sana gusto kong makita, na pag ang isang trans na kagaya ko, na in love, maybe sa isang lalaki, or pwede rin ako ma-in love sa isang babae, di ba? I mean, that's the nature of sexuality and gender. It is fluid and it is diverse. Ipakita natin ito because these are experiences worth telling.
Ang ganda nung stories live because they also help us live. I don't know, parang something like that. I was like, oh, that's so nice. Kasi also with the pandemic now, like, the stories help us keep going. Parang ako rin na-enlighten.
For a lack of a better term, I hated the question kasi parang it gives us the premise na parang every love story is competitive from one another. Eh, hindi naman siya competition, di ba? It's a matter of us appreciating these types of love stories na parang bakit ganun defeated na kagad yung girls' love just because may clamor for boys' love. No, it's not that way. And I don't want us to read the love stories na ganun. Kasi ito yung opportunities na kung kaya ng boys' love, eh di gawin natin yung iba't ibang types of love stories, di ba? Ako nga, I hope one day I could star in my own rom-com.
Naman.
Diba?
Naman.
Yes, Sir Petersen. Ayan na po, Sir Petersen. Meron na.
Naman.
Diba? Parang, para lahat mag-enjoy. Kinikilig tayo sa experience ng love story ng heteronormative world. Diba? At hindi naman natin sila sinasabihan na, oy, hindi pwede yan, hindi pwedeng mangyari yan. Because we appreciate that kind of love. Diba? So sana, sa oras na ikwento rin natin, maipakita din natin na, hello, nakakakilig din kaya ang may in love sa isang trans woman na kagaya ko, no? Diba? So yun lang, dami kong sinabi. Thank you for listening to my TED Talks.
Dapat TED Talks na lang tayo. Thank you so much.
Hindi, tas pwede lang may last dagdag lang din ako. Kasi sobrang na-enlighten tayo lahat kay Mel. No, kasi tama ang ganda nung sinasabi ni Mela na tayo na nga parang we as a community nakaka-experience ng oppression and discrimination. Tapos when the time comes na, ano ba yan yung, parking alarm.
Because the situation is very alarming.
No, when the time comes na parang we can celebrate each other's works, may ganito pang competitive nature yung community or even yung audience. And sinabi nga ni Vito Russo, siya yung gumawa nung napakagandang documentary na Celluloid Closet about queer representation in cinema, na kailangan din maintindihan na yung representation, it's not just the work of one film or of one series or of one TV show. Kasi minsan, di ba, parang we're easy to criticize na this one show, it's not telling this story, it's not telling my story. Bakit nyo ginagawa to when it's invalidating my experience? But everyone should understand that in order for representation to truly work, it's really the job of a collection of work, no? A collection of queer creators coming together to build these collection of stories, to build this community, to enlighten everyone na ang laki ng spectrum ng kwento namin, na hindi lang kami ganito, na ang job namin is to challenge the status quo na ganito yung pagtingin sa atin. Ang challenge natin is pagandahin natin, kulayan pa natin at gawin nating diverse yung mga kwento natin just so everyone can see how diverse we are and how colorful our lives are. Sana the reader can understand na okay, time siguro ng boys love ngayon, pero kami naman, we as a community of queer creators, actors, talents, gumagawa kami nito para step forward siya to introduce more queer works, to introduce the community to the audiences.
Sabi nga naman ni Miss Ma'am Lizzo, if I'm shining, everybody gonna shine.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, if
Exactly,
one of us
exactly.
is up there, then all of us have a chance to be up there.
Exactly.
So, I really like that. Tsaka, ang ganda rin po nung parang, nga naman, why can't we as queer people be hopeful for the love stories that we see? Parang hindi ba pwedeng puro fluff lang? Like, I'm allowed to have fluffy stories na puro kilig lang. Like, it's not solely for heteronormative couples and love stories. Yun nga, ang ganda nun.
Yeah.